right, Minnesota Vikings fans, it looks like we definitely have a situation worth monitoring going forward for this offseason, and that is whether or not Kirk Cousins is going to be traded to the San Francisco 49ers. We are fresh off the heels of the Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff trade. I think that there is something in the air that is, fueling this process. Could it be, speculation? Could it be unverified rumors? Could it be hearsay? Hard to tell at this point. But I just want to preface this video with the statement that there is truth to all rumors, as once said by the famous Stephon Diggs. There is truth to all rumors. There are trade proposals that we will never know about. There are trade proposals that happen that we'll find out about in a couple of years. I mean, we just learned that the Rams tried to get Aaron Rodgers. They were willing to go that far. Now, of course, they probably got laughed off that phone call. But it's not saying, the point of this is to say that every discussion can happen, right? You think everybody is safe from being traded. I think the only person in the entire league right now that is just absolutely safe from a trade discussion is Patrick Mahomes. Everybody else is on the table. And that's hard to believe, but that's the reality. Any GM can pick up a phone, ask about a player, and whether or not it's realistic, they can do that. So where do we stand with Kirk Cousins as a potential trade target for the San Francisco 49ers? Well, a guy by the name of Evan Massey, who I will admit I've never heard of. He has a profile that looks like he has some worthy credentials that we could probably take him seriously, but until I see something that's more concrete and verifiable, this is all speculation as of now. But he posts on Twitter the other day that the 49ers are looking to make a move at quarterback. San Francisco wants to push hard to acquire Kirk Cousins. That's a name to keep track of. And this seems like it's a definite possibility because of his previous ties with Kyle Shanahan. I don't want to do a whole nother history lesson, but if you're unfamiliar with the situation, Kirk Cousins used to be the quarterback for the Washington football team back when Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator. When Shanahan went to San Francisco, one of his priorities was to get Kirk Cousins to his team. The Jimmy Garoppolo trade presented itself first, and that is why we are in the situation that we are in. Of course, the 49ers are looking to move on from Jimmy Garoppolo, and it makes sense, and I'll tell you why. Because you look at the Los Angeles Rams, right? Very similar situation to the 49ers, and they just did something so aggressive because they know the window that they're in. They have Aaron Darnold, they have Jalen Ramsey, they have a pretty good offensive line, pretty decent set of skill players on offense, Van Jefferson, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Cam Akers, you name it. They've got a great group, and they've got the Sean McVay brain genius offense that's Matthew Stafford is going to, in my opinion, electrify this year. And it makes sense from a 49er standpoint to engage in the trade discussions for a guy like Kirk Cousins, because this is the aggressive splash that they would need as a counter move to a division rival. And after seeing that the Rams were able to do, get rid of Jared Goff, the Lions were able to get 2 first-round picks for Matt Stafford, plus Goff and a third. I think the theme of this offseason is now aggression. The tone has been set. Thank you to the Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff trade. As I've said before, if you don't remember the famous quote by Stephon Diggs, there is truth to all rumors. We will never know about some trades. We will find out about some trade proposals later. Everything that is rumored can definitely happen. There is a realistic possibility the 49ers believe that Kirk Cousins is capable of winning them a Super Bowl, because if you look at the situations that are similar to the Rams and the 49ers, good defense. The 49ers probably figured, we'll get all of our guys back from injury next year on defense, and it'll be lights out once again. We can plug any running back we want to in our offense, and it'll work. And we have a passing game with a bunch of players who are out of position athletes, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, who can definitely promote a healthy passing attack. You look at the Vikings, kind of a similar situation. We're currently in the prospect that we believe once we get our defensive players back from injury, that our healthy defense will propel us back to a playoff caliber team. We have another year of Justin Jefferson coming up. And, despite not having a very good offensive line, the belief is that if we get our defensive players back, we are back to playoff contention. So you see how the similarities line up with the Rams, the 49ers, and the Minnesota Vikings. The difference is Jimmy Garoppolo good, not great quarterback. And I think it's gotten to the point where they don't believe that he is going to win them Super Bowl. So they are looking to improve the quarterback position in San Francisco. And that is what being aggressive now is going to determine how this plays out. Because we've seen the Rams, we've seen the Lions be aggressive. The Rams are now showing their hand, right? They have their poker hand, and they're all in on a Super Bowl in the next 1 to 2, maybe 3 years. That's their window. They're in. 49ers are going to have to do something to counter that and to also prove that they're in. Their push is now. They got to the Super Bowl last year. It didn't work out, mostly because, I believe, my opinion, Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't up to the task. If they can get a guy like Kirk Cousins, who I understand, I am on the record saying that I don't believe he can win a Super Bowl in Minnesota, but I don't know what his prospect could be in San Francisco. He could probably, thrive in that offense and propel them to a Super Bowl championship. It's up for debate, but that's another video in and of itself. So what would a trade look like between the Vikings and the 49ers for Kirk Cousins? Well, in my opinion, you look at the Stafford trade, and I usually don't believe that one trade sets precedent for another, because Amari Cooper was traded for a first, DeAndre Hopkins was traded for a second, and I know a lot of people are going to say, well, that's because Bill O'Brien is an idiot. We can't go through this process believing that only Bill O'Brien is capable of stupid, dumb shit, right? There are NFL executives out there that if you can, sell them on the idea of a trade, they'll pull the trigger. And whether or not it's a stupid trade is up for debate, as is always. But you can definitely con some things out of certain people. Bill O'Brien isn't the only moron to be an NFL executive and not realize the value of what he has and trade it for pennies on the dollar. So one of the things to point out would be Kirk Cousins' current contract. Trading him pre-June 1st would hit the Vikings with $20 million in dead salary cap, which I think is a small price to pay, given that next year, if he's still on the roster, he'll be making $45 million at the age of 33. That's a tough pill to swallow. That's an exceptional pay rate for very good quarterback play. It's not great, it's not elite, it's very good quarterback play, and it's a hefty price tag. So I would prefer to get out from that. The Rams were showing that they were willing to swallow $22.2 million in dead cap space to get rid of Jared Goff. It was actually pretty genius. We'll trade you a first for Matthew Stafford. We will also trade you a first to take Jared Goff's contract, because we don't want nothing to do with that anymore. So if we could do something in a similar fashion, I think this is what it would look at. Now, unfortunately, the 49ers don't have a quarterback to offer in return. Jimmy Garoppolo would come at a very cheap price. It would cost zero dead cap to cut him. So he could be a trade and cut candidate. So ultimately, we're looking at a first-round pick for Kirk Cousins, because now this is the fun part, because the Kirk Cousins stands can't come into this video and tell me that it is unrealistic to get a first-round pick for Kirk Cousins, because if the Rams just got Matthew Stafford for 2 number ones, albeit one of those was because of the Goff contract, you can't come in here and tell me that Kirk Cousins isn't worth at least a number one, because he is. That's where we agree. So the 49ers would have to give us a first rounder. I think they would have to give up a second, a third, maybe even you could poach another draft pick out of them next year. Or, of course, Rick Spielman loves his late round day 2, day 3 picks. We could probably get a bunch of those. Or you could get a first round pick, a second round pick, because we don't have one this year. You could get Jimmy Garoppolo. So now you have 2 first round picks. You have the number 12. I believe the 49ers have the 12th overall pick. We have the 14th overall pick. So we have 2 first rounders. Use that ammo to trade up to get a Justin Fields or a Trey Lance. Or you could use that ammo plus Jimmy Garoppolo to send to Houston to get DeShaun Watson. 2 problems with that being that DeShaun Watson has the no trade clause. He could block any potential trade. So he basically has the power of the veto. He can pick where he wants to go. And I don't know if he would be so excited to come to a run first team. Even though we have really great weapons at wide receiver in Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, I just don't know that that is something that he would want to do. He definitely comes to a Super Bowl, maybe a Super Bowl contender. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. He definitely comes to a potential playoff contender, which is miles better than the Houston Texans. But the thing is, would he want to come into an environment where he has a defensive-minded head coach who wants to, run a 1993 style offense where he is running the ball more often than not? But it's definitely within the realm of possibility. So to recap everything, it looks like the Kirk Cousins rumors are at least close to being reality. There is truth to all rumors. This isn't something that's going away. It first started with Mike Florio. We all kind of thought in the back of our heads that this was a potential to be a realistic possibility because of Kirk Cousins and Kyle Shanahan's previous relationship in Washington. And while I'm still kind of dismissing the DeShaun Watson trade to Minnesota, they now have a path. The path now exists to acquire DeShaun Watson, and it runs through San Francisco. You send Kirk Cousins to San Francisco, you get a first-round pick in return at minimum, maybe Jimmy Garoppolo, a whole bunch of other picks that we can debate all day long. And then you turn around, use that new draft capital that you've acquired from the 49ers, you send it to Houston, you get DeShaun Watson. Is that a possibility? Yeah, it is. Do I think it's going to happen? No, not really. We'll see how it goes in the days to come. And of course, also let me know in the comments below what you believe is going to happen, and would you even want to entertain these ideas. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.